I think you can do anything. I think you could do that, but I also think that maybe there's a world where you put all this creativity just towards a stable job with actual money.
Sorry, what?
Hello and welcome. My name is Christopher Aud, and I am the supervising sound editor and re-recording mixer for the movie Musica. Today I will be interviewing Jaime Rise, music producer of the film. We wanted to give you a little insight into how this soundtrack was created. I'd also like to thank Chrissy Kikawa for helping me produce this video. And we need to thank the sound team that helped bring this track to life. And that starts with Eliza Ziebert, who is the supervising sound editor of dialogue and ADR. And then we had Albert Gasser on dialogue editing and Mitch Asias doing sound effects and sound design. We also had Linda Yaney as our first assistant, and then Aaron Glasscock was our effects re-recording mixer. We also had Rob Young sitting in as our mix tech. And we need to thank Max King and Catherine Cheek for doing the post-production supervising. And then I need to thank Jake Zuckerberg for helping keep that stage running smoothly. That is no easy task, especially with the way this particular one was brought together. We need to thank the Foley team, Allison D. Moore, Chris Moriana, and Darren Mann, who is the Foley mixer. And then, last but not least, we have Melissa Kent and Jill Piawar, who were in the picture department, Melissa being the picture editor and Jill being the picture assistant. They had a huge task in front of them in figuring out how to bring everything together coming from the set. Anyway, here is the interview. So it's great to see you, my man. And we're here to talk about the movie Musica, which obviously you made with Mr. Rudy Mancuso. And before we jump right into that, I wanted to ask you how you got started in the music business before we get into meeting Rudy and making this movie.
Yeah, so I guess ever since I was born, I've known I was going to be in music. Originally, I thought it would be in some capacity performing, but I soon came to realize that I really like to develop talent. So I went to engineering school and I decided to become a producer. And I was working in the record business, working with everybody really for about 15 years. I grew up in Toronto, moved to LA, did it here. My first project producing in LA was for Jamie Kennedy's rap album, The Comedian.
We both got to work with him back then, yeah.
Right, I remember, yeah. And we did a song called Circle, Circle, Dot, Dot for all you Circle, Circle, Dot, Dotters out there. And so I did that for many years, trying to get a hit, trying to, strike it rich, whatever they say. Mm-hmm. But the record business for me never quite fit. I don't know. I was always like lacing the track with too much emotion and too much. There was no room for the vocal anymore. You know what I mean? So I had to find this niche for myself. And I got kind of tired of going around and doing writing sessions and going on the grind, the LA writer grind. And I met this kid in a writing session named Rudy Mancuso. He's at the time he was a YouTuber, but a very talented musician. And he was trying to figure out what to do to make records. Wow. But when I met him, I was like, man, I quit the music business. I am now in the Rudy Mancuso business. I'm like, you don't have a producer? Are you kidding? And I was like, okay, I've been waiting this long. This is the guy. So stick with him. So the other amazing part about that was the instant gratification of YouTube at the time. This is about 2016. When you make a record in the record business, you're lucky if the world gets to hear that a year later, and you're already over it. You've heard it so many times. You're on to the next thing by that time. In the YouTube world, we'd make something, and the next day after we released it, we'd see this instant reaction and instant either people would like it or they wouldn't like it, but we'd know instantly. And that was so exciting to me. Not to mention that in that world, there just seemed to be actually money. I don't know, like in the music business, in the record business, it was hard to find for some reason. So Rudy and I just started making these musical stories, and they started to really hit. Like, he was more a comedian when we first started, and it seemed like a risk to make these avant-garde sort of art pieces instead of going with slapstick comedy, which he's also so great at. And people really took to it, and it's been such an amazing ride ever since. We've just been sort of, it's like we're a band in a way. We're just sort of developing ourselves and building ourselves to as high a pinnacle as we can get to, you know, essentially. And the natural evolution of getting past the YouTube content was to start making long form content, whether it be television or movies. Luckily, he's a really cool guy and people like to talk to him. And he's talented. So when he gets in the room, he's, you know, he reminds me of like a Jerry Maguire type of guy. He's really good at talking to people. So people took to our movie idea. It took a little while to get off the ground. We had a pandemic to deal with at first, and then strikes and all these things. But we're now sitting on top of a finished movie. And we're about a month and a half out from it, or 2 months out from it being released, and couldn't be more excited, honestly. I now make movies somehow. I don't know how it happened, but it fits. It fits.
And congratulations on that, because that is a very cool thing to be doing, obviously, in this town. So let me ask you this. When you guys decided that you were going to make the movie Musica, and you had the story in mind, I just want to go right to this technical aspect, because for me, this is one of the more mind-blowing things that we got to participate in with you guys. How in the world did you come to the conclusion that you wanted to record all of these percussion choreographed performances live in the moment?
I've been doing some aspect of this making music out of the world around you idea for maybe 20 years. It's been in my head forever. Rudy was the first person I ever met that really got it. And the visceral nature of the performance element of it is what makes it different. What takes us back to a time in Hollywood where we were really depending on our talents as opposed to going, well, we'll take care of it in post, you know? And that comes across on screen so much. And when we're watching classic musical movies, when the music is recorded in post, as you know, we sort of lose the air in the room. We all of a sudden are in the studio, and it's crisp and it's pristine and it's top quality. But everyone knows somewhere unconsciously in their head that we're not in that room anymore. And there's people lip syncing.
Right. Yeah. Let's go back for a second. So there were no pre-records done for this. Am I correct in saying that?
All we had were click tracks.
Yep.
And cues.
Okay.
Like vocal cues that I'd have in the in-ears. So all of our performers had in-ears, which we had to hide. And then we had hidden microphones all over the space, which was also difficult because we have cameras obviously weaving in and out. And we didn't, as far as I can see, I don't see any microphones. So I think we nailed that pretty well.
You feel like movies that address lip syncing and do these musical performances after the fact to a track that's been pre-recorded, everybody feels that, everybody knows that, and you lose a connection.
The difference is like if someone hits a bell and it reverberates, you still see it move. And if that is not syncing with the thing you're hearing, you may not consciously realize that you're out of it, but it's taking you right out. The people that be, the powers that be, gave me a little bit of problems with the fact that I wanted to record everything live. When I say that, it's because usually they don't have to take the time or allot the budget for that while you're in production. It's much easier to just have that be camera time, get the shots we need to get, and fix it in post, right? That's how everyone usually does it. And when I was on set trying to explain that to people, they thought I was wasting time, basically. You know, we can do this later. But what they don't get is that this is a performance. It's not a song that we're trying to lip sync. It's a physical performance, and the message we're trying to get out is that Rudy, the main character, is walking through a world, and that world is on its own creating music and pulses and vibration, not something that takes you out of the scene, but something that's part of the scene itself. So it's not like, oh, Rudy's walking through a scene and all of a sudden everyone breaks out into song. No, he continues the scene as all this music is happening. So not only do you want a little bit of bleed maybe from this mic to the other mic to create the room, but you also have mics miking the actual room tone and miking everything at once.
Mics, let's just say it wasn't just like a few microphones. It was literally, I mean, you probably got to 100 microphones in a couple of scenes.
Yeah, and phasing was a big issue. Obviously bleed, we didn't mind bleed in some circumstances, but we were really trying to figure out ways to isolate in this situation as well. So we'd be having microphones in ice boxes or underneath them. We're unscrewing countertops and all that stuff. You know, everything was very on the fly. And because the nature of the production, not really understanding what we were trying to get done until the end, and they were very happy we did, we had to get these performances done in 4 or 5 takes because there was no time.
Right. All the time was done in the setup. Yeah.
You know?
That's so amazing.
So you can feel that on screen, you know, that the danger of it, the fact that these guys and girls, if they messed it up, we didn't get the shot. We didn't get the performance.
Right. So let me ask you this. I mean, in order to do the things that you were doing, obviously it didn't hurt that Rudy was the director. I assume he was a producer. Yes. He wrote it and he's starring in it. So like he is your champion in those moments because that's exactly how he wants it to go.
Absolutely. I think the thing that makes Rudy and I different from other production teams or whatever you want to say, or Rudy as a director, is that we think about music through the art. Like when we're going into art department, we're thinking about it with a music lens. When we're going into talk to the AD, we're thinking about it with a musical lens. So the production doesn't evolve and then music gets added at a certain part down the road. No, we've been talking music, Rudy and I, since the inception. So he gets all the little things that need to happen in order to get the product to the finish line. Not to mention that he and I have done all this YouTube stuff together. So basically just the two of us. So we have this chemistry that we just know how to make this happen. And a lot of times on set, no one knows, you know, we're like, just trust us, you know, and they're like, okay. And then you know, maybe Rudy's just going like a couple of times and like, why is he doing that? Well, that has to do with some edit that we already have in our minds, you know. And he championed me the whole way through. And, you know, me as a record producer, but not necessarily as a movie producer, I have to say that everyone was really supportive and allowed me to do my thing and allowed me to and listen to me as much as they could. And it was really a blessing for me because as a first experience on movies, to be able to kind of call the shots in the music department the way I was able to, you know, all the producers when we got to post were like, how do we have a music, you know, assembly already? I'm like, because you let me record it live. You know, usually they have temp tracks until the director's cut, you know, but we had real music going.
That's right. And yeah. I mean, that's what made it so exciting for us to be working with you is because we had never seen anything like what you had done. It actually still took me some time to fully comprehend exactly what you had done until I came over to visit you in the studio and saw the tracks with Eric. And then I said, okay, now I fully understand what it is you guys did and how you want to carry it through to the end. Let me ask you this real quick. You had how many performers that you were working with on set and how much time did you have to work with them before the first day of shooting?
So we had 30 performers, including Marivaldo dos Santos, who's our head rhythm master, director. He worked in Stomp since the beginning. He's the guy with the dreadlocks you'll see in the movie. He's incredible. He worked directly with me. He helped hire all the performers. Like I said, we had 30. They're all ex-stompers. Some work with this band called Street Drum Corps that I produced for many years. And we had 2 weeks in a church basement that we just had this giant room. And we got as many of the props down there as we could, and we built up as many of the scenes with tables and chairs and stuff as instead of being on location, because again, we didn't have $100 million budget to do this movie. You know, we had to make do with a little bit of so instead we didn't even really get to rehearse on set until maybe the morning of the shoot.
Right. And so things weren't necessarily fully blocked out until you went on set. And when we say on set, we don't mean to a soundstage. We mean you went to a diner in New Jersey and shot the diner scene. You went to the fish market in New Jersey and shot the fish market scene.
We try to keep the tone, obviously, even if it's annoying to some degree, we're trying to keep the tone of the space that we're in. But we had a problem in the fish market because we had this lobster tank, and if you have the lobster tank on, you can't hear dialogue, you can't hear anything. So we said, what are we going to do with these lobsters? And I said, Eureka, let's cook them. So I got the craft services to buy all the lobsters, and we had a delicious lobster lunch. And we were always just sort of problem-based atmosphere. But like you say, like when you show up at a fish market, if there happens to be traffic outside that day, you got to deal with it.
Yes, very much so. So like in the diner scene, can you just sort of take me through the battles that you fought to get everything recorded the way that you wanted? Because you have everybody performing from, plates and banging on the hood of the grill and you have everything going on in that scene.
Yeah, so I had a nice opportunity to get to the diner beforehand myself. So I was able to sort of track it with my iPhone. So we had an idea of the space, sort of. So once I had that, I looked around and I said, okay, we have 30 performers. What's everyone going to play? And not only that, but like there's motion, right? So there's also blocking. So we don't want one guy standing there banging on something. We want it to seem like we have a diner that's actually moving. That's people are being brought plates and people are eating. We never want it to seem like everyone stops and plays what they have in front of them. We want the scene to continue and for you to notice that the world around you is musical inherently. We're just over amping, So we'd have that video, we'd block it out with tables and chairs and things and props that we had gotten in the rehearsal space. But then, for instance, there was a deep fryer. A deep fryer has 3 tones on it, right? It has like the interior boom, the kick drum sort of sound. It's got the side, which is like a hi-hat, and it's got the snare on the other side. Well, when rehearsal, we were banging on a chair or something. We didn't buy a deep fryer to bring into rehearsal. So some of that was done on the fly. We had 3 microphones that we had spotted the night before so it was in place. But as soon as you get in there and you start really banging on things, you need to make adjustments, and you have camera crews breathing down your neck saying, what's going on here? I've never seen anything like this. We're just burning money. You have line producer totally confused, because he's there to save money. So, but that's the danger that I'm talking about that I just thrive on. And it makes it punk rock. It goes from like this artistic, beautiful sort of stomp-esque thing. It goes into people sweating and in the moment and trying to figure it out and having to give all their energy. And that's what this all breaks down to in the end is, as we know, is energy, right? We're just giving energy to the audience. And the more intense and emotional it is, the better.
And the energy is all throughout the film. I mean, it just comes pouring out of the screen in all the performances and everything that happens. It's a wonderful thing. I want to mention or just ask you a tiny bit, kind of referring to that scene. So you've recorded all these great things on set. You bring to us those tracks, and we'll talk. I want to talk about going. You went to East West and did a little pass there, if I'm not mistaken. Actually,
Yep.
can you talk about
Yes.
that right now?
So I have always loved that studio. I recorded there for the first time in about 2008, and it through my record making career, it was always my dream to get back there to start recording live again, but it never works out because the inherent nature of pop music is no one wants to spend money on that stuff, right? So
Right.
every year I'd call the people over there and be like, I'm coming. It's this year it's happening. You know, I'm coming to do this record. And they'd be like, okay, Jamie. Well, finally I had the budget and the means and the support to really do it this time. And so I booked the time at East West. I booked studio number 2 because it has that beautiful 1073 Neve board that has recorded so many amazing things. I could name them forever: System of a Down, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Rage Against the Machine, all very, but also like Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So just things that I love. And, the familiarity of a room in your ear, you don't realize it, but like, I was like, my movie's going to sound like these records that I love, these classic records. So I spent the time to take all these live tracks and run them back through all the analog gear. So before you got them, they were already sort of hot.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but we try all the recording, anything we did in post. If you notice, there's the montage scene, which is where Rudy walks through all the different set pieces, the movable set pieces. Even the band that we didn't record the band that's playing there, obviously on set, although we could have, maybe next movie.
Mm-hmm.
We did that in post, but we did it live to picture, and the entire band was recording live at the same time. So there's no overdubs. So we still kept the integrity of live playing. You can make a mistake, but let's not make a mistake. And so even though we had some things done in post, it was all sort of kept the same integrity.
That's fantastic. Now, the one thing that I really enjoyed being able to do with you, based on how you recorded it, was you didn't necessarily know, as you had put this track together, how each element might have been featured picture-wise. And in film, we like to focus on the thing that we're seeing. We like to be able to hear it a little bit more. And so, Melissa and Jill had done a little bit of editing of a couple of sounds here and there to fill out the track, but also because you gave it to me all separated, you were able to say to me, Chris, there's that guy doing this thing over here. He's on these tracks. I know we mic'd him, and I could go find him and raise him, and there he is playing.
And that was the joy of working with you guys. I just got to say is that you allowed me to give you guys all the separated tracks. I mean, most of the time I'm delivering stems and we can't do much with them. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, team.
You're welcome. I mean, when I saw what you were doing, I knew that was going to be the only way to do it. And I didn't want to have stems, because I knew between you and Rudy, there could be the possibility for anything. And I wanted that door to remain open, frankly, all the way through the Printmaster, which that's exactly what we did.
Yeah. And that's what we did. And Melissa, our editor, has ears of a spy. So she picked out everything for us as well.
That's right. No, Melissa's on top of all that stuff. So yeah, if she had a note, it was super easy to address compared to, that thing you're worried about is married to all these other things. How are we going to?
So let's go back to music department and pull it apart and send it back. And we didn't have to do all that. Yeah.
No. So I want to talk to you briefly about the park scene, because the park scene is the culmination of everything we've experienced up to that point. And that's where our main character gets to explain to his soon-to-be love that he has this condition, synesthesia, and he wants her to experience it with him. Can you talk a little bit about, I mean, to right away for me, the first thing that I think about when I worked on that scene with you guys is that you said that was the first day of shooting.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Which in hindsight, it threw the crew for a loop because again, everyone's learning for the first time how we work. But it was good because we jumped right into, they would call it Música. We're doing Música today. You know what I mean? As opposed to dialogue.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So what I would say about that scene is that something we like to portray, obviously all different items make different noises and we can create music from different items. But the other thing about what we like to do on screen is that movement can portray a sound. So it's like dancing in a way. So we're trying to show that, like, okay, we're watching a teeter-totter or a seesaw, or we're watching a guy go on the handlebars. These are movements which have rhythm to them. So it's a visual representation of music as opposed to someone playing something and we're hearing it. So we really tried to get that through in this scene where it's like we see physical movements that we expect a certain sound, and instead we get rhythmically we get that, but tonally we're getting orchestral sounds instead of grips or putting a chess piece down or whatever. And in the studio we decided to sort of mix the two so that the audience gets the full picture. But yes, this was an exercise in movement representing sound.
Yeah. And then how much convincing, like I'm still trying to imagine being the production mixer on this movie day one. I don't know how much the production mixer was aware of what you guys were trying to do before they arrived on set. But on day one there,
we had two guys. We had Anton and we had John. Anton was a sort of our head mixer, dialogue specialist, and all the stuff was coming into his board. But then we had John, who was our playback operator, but he did much more than playback. He's the man. I mean, this guy was helping me set up. He was my prince during this process. I mean, and unfortunately for him, yeah, and he's an incredible guy because, usually you get the same, I wouldn't say usually. I would say if I had a budget, an unlimited budget, I'd have days where I could go set up miking techniques where the same way that you have tons of time to set up your camera patterns and work and movements. We need days to set up the ideas of how to hide these mics, but that didn't happen. This guy showed up basically to our second last day of rehearsal because that's all we had budget for. And we were like, you don't have 40 in-ears and blah, 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 you gotta get it, And he was like, what? But luckily he really ran with he took all the punches with stride, and he was my main man through the whole thing. He in the park scene, for instance, we had that big drum circle. Well, we shot the drum circle, the walk before the drum circle, and the sort of street conversation all in the same day. So we had like 4 different pits of mics being set up, and we didn't have 1,000 hands on deck. We had 3 of us or something. So
yeah, right.
It's one of those things. It's like you bring your indie filmmaking skills to the big leagues, but you still find places you need to use them.
Yeah. Yep. So tell me this, sir. What's your favorite memory from making this movie?
Certainly that moment I talked about at East West when it felt like I accomplished the thing I was trying to accomplish for years, and in a way that I didn't expect. Right? I didn't think I'd be making a movie there necessarily, or doing post-production, or I thought I'd be recording some rock band there. And it's just funny how if you just, and this is going to sound a bit cheesy, but if you just stick to your guns and know that there's some destiny out there for you and sort of let things change. Some people, they have blinders on. They don't roll with the punches enough, I feel. But if you just believe in yourself, I know it's cheesy, but the world will sort of like lay you out where you're supposed to be. And then if you did the hard work, it can work out.
That's right. That's right. And when did you realize that the movie that you guys were trying to make was working or beyond working? Like was
That's
really
really funny that you say that, because during the whole thing, we're either making the best movie ever or the worst movie. Like, this thing's gonna make no sense. No one's gonna watch it, But either way, that means we did the right. We tried to do the right thing,
Mhm.
Rudy and I are never trying to make something that's been done before. Like, we're really trying to break boundaries here, just in general, in art, in music, in filmmaking. We got a couple of little inventions going. Like, we're just trying to be new in some way. And I think even through the editing process, we doubted ourselves a little bit, because it's, the healthy doubt is good. And also, not everyone knew the full vision in their minds while editing was going on. Only Rudy and I saw the full picture at the end. But once we had the focus groups and we heard what people sort of thought about the movie, and we did a couple of reshoots and whatever, and then we sort of saw it in its entirety, and played it for a couple of people that we really respect. And they were like, whoa. And I gotta be honest, Chris, when Eric Vaughn's, by the way, the engineer and the sound editor, and not the sound editor, the music editor on this movie, and he's a genius. And I want to shout him out because he couldn't have done this without him. Eric is my guy. We thought that that we were going to be so schooled that we would be like, not even know, like we didn't know what was going on, when we got to you, because mixing a film is a whole other can of worms from mixing a record. And, you're in a sound stage, there's different groups of people who are all working towards the same project. And when we got in there and we realized that you were impressed by something that we had done, as opposed to the other way around, because we were like walking in there like, oh my God, like, I hope he even looks at us, then we were like, wow, okay, maybe we did something.
Oh no, for sure you guys did. And yeah, I so try not to be that guy. Like, you have now arrived in my space, Yeah, no, we're
You're
working
not that guy in any way. No way are you that
yeah,
guy.
we're working
be.
together. No. We're working together. So the genius of you guys is literally Rudy uh, heard, I think, from the focus groups, or they were trying to find some sort of connective tissue between one scene and another scene. And Rudy just overnight went and shot, I don't want to give away everything, but he did a scene and just did his voiceover, did his recording. And that's in the movie.
It's in the movie, and it's really funny.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely hilarious.
That is our renegade filmmaking kind of style. We had to learn this kind of stuff. Like, on set, you're not supposed to move props, right? Because that it goes against the rules. And I'm moving trash. I'm used to throwing everything around and being very hands-on. And I got yelled at more than once because that's not how you do things. Also, moving gears to set. I had Teamsters like yelling at me because that's their job and I'm taking money out of their pocket. So I had to learn all these things to be. I always want to be an outsider a little bit because I don't want to do things the way they're done necessarily. But there's obviously a marriage where you walk in and people go, okay, he's done this before. He's not. It was a little obvious that I was making beginner mistakes, but people still took me seriously. So I thank you, everybody, for still taking me seriously, even when I made mistakes.
So the final thing I want to really ask you is, how do you envision, in a really broad sense, making the next film? Like, what do you bring from this one that will be coming out soon to the next?
Well, I will say that Rudy and I don't want to spoil too much. We have a bunch of films in development.
Fair. That
are different than Música, but are all musically based. So anything we make will be from a musical perspective. And I'm talking from the ground up. So when we make a film, now that people trust us and are letting us do our process a little bit more, we will start when the script is being written, the music starts being written.
Yeah.
And because every scene, whether it's driven by music as a character, like this movie, where music actually has its own character and its own plot, or whether music is just a score, it's still going to drive the film. So there might be some sort of other musica on the horizon, sort of a musica tale per se. Maybe not a sequel, but certainly you won't be seeing just tick tick boom boom taka 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 from Rudy and I for the rest of your lives. That is just one aspect of what we are prepared to bring.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me today. It's a pleasure to have worked with you guys and to get to talk to you right now. And
Thank you so much, Chris.
and it was our honor and pleasure to be a part of this whole thing, and we can't wait for everybody to see it.